Okay, so hopefully you've written down all your expenses and your income and you have a little bit of knowledge of where you are. And it may feel a little scary right now to fully feel the weight of that. And that's okay. You need to let go of any shame or guilt. This is where you are. We can't change the past. We can only make a plan and work for the future. So, now what we're going to do is step 2 is we're going to make a plan, and I'm going to give you some examples. I want you to first of all to think about in the past when you had a problem. Think of a problem, what you did to solve that problem. What were the steps that you took to solve that problem? So, or you can, if you can't think of anything like that, you might think about, okay, this is my problem. What are the things I think I could do to solve it? And so one of the things you could do is just write down a list of all the things you think you could do to solve this problem. If it is a spending problem, maybe you want to give yourself a weekly allowance. If it is a earning problem, maybe you want to sell some things or find a way to work more. I used to take in babysitting. I would clean houses for people. Anything I could do to make extra money. I even got a part-time job at one point that I had for 2 years, working about 20 hours a week because we were so broke. So, um, thinking about what worked in the past, knowing what you need to do. Do you have a spending problem or an earning problem? And it's probably most likely a combination of both. In many cases, it is. And sometimes there's just like on the spending, maybe you're down to bare bones, but you have so many payments that there's just not much that can be cut. So, what you want to do in that case is look at what has to get paid first, and that would be your four walls: your rent, your utilities, food, gas for work, and you want to cut out, at least temporarily, all other spending. Now, you could give yourself a small allowance, but you may have to make more. So, spending less would mean, things like giving yourself $50 a week to buy groceries, and that's not very much, but most people can get by on about $7 a day for food if you're very careful with your budget and you're willing to eat things like oatmeal, potatoes, rice and beans, peanut butter and jelly. And you actually can make some really good meals if you get creative. I don't eat meat, so I don't really know what those things would be, and meat's very expensive. But you can look at ways to cut your budget, so or cut your spending. So look at all the things you've written down, including food, gas, and spending money, and look at ways you can cut them back. So if you have $100 allotted for groceries every week for one person, maybe you want to cut that down to 70, or $10 a day, or $12 a day. All right. The other thing is you've got to look at how you can get more money coming in. And so you want to think about what you can do. Could you have a yard sale? Could you sell some stuff? Could you possibly look for a roommate or allow someone to stay with you for a while they're in transition? Maybe you don't want a permanent roommate, but someone might stay with you and pay you for that temporarily. The other thing you could do is pick up extra work or extra hours, find a second job. It doesn't have, and the thing is, you've got to realize this isn't permanent. It's something you're going to do to get yourself in a better position financially. Call everyone you owe money to that you can't pay right away, including your utilities, your landlord. And even at this time in COVID, look for help. Like, there is a lot of rent relief being given to the states. I know Arkansas has an abundance. It's not being used because there's a lot of red tape. Sometimes you have to think that I used to think of it like I have to go through this and I'm being paid. If I get $1,000, and I work 10 hours, that's $100 per hour. So it's worth my time. So look at what you can do, make a plan. On rent, you might try to get financial assistance. You might call your landlord and say, due to COVID, I haven't been making as much money. Could you work with me for 3 months? Could you maybe help me out? And just see. All they can do is say no. But they might say yes. And you have to learn to not be afraid of asking for help when you need it in that way. As far as any extraneous spending, cut back to the bare minimum. Maybe you give yourself $10 a week extra or $20 for fun money, and that's that maybe you go out for tacos or a movie or something like that. No sense in having to budget or track unless you want to. If you want to track, it is great. You can do it however you want. You can use pad and paper. You can use your phone, put it in notes, or use a tracking app. I don't do that, but I have in the past, and it was very informative. Especially if you're a person who just tends to shop or go through the drive-through when you're hungry or eat out and not plan on what you're going to do with your food. So also know that it will be bumpy and it will be a learning process. So your next step after you've done your income and expenses is to make a plan, spend some time, call your creditors, figure out how you can spend less and make more. And so think about that this week. And when you're done with that, come back for video number 3. Thank you.